Hey guys, in today's video, I'm going to go over 10 tips and tricks that you can use if you use backing tracks live. So a lot of the bands that I play in, we use backing tracks. My old bands, we used to use backing tracks. I've learned quite a bit about using backing tracks live. Some people don't like them. I personally love them. But overall, I'm just going to give you 10 different tips and tricks that are going to help you if you do decide to use backing tracks live. I definitely think all these tips are very valuable. Some of them you might know. Some of them are pretty unique that I don't think I've really seen anyone else do. I would recommend watching the whole video. So if you already know the first two things, I wouldn't just tune out of the video because I think you're going to learn something. Before we start, this isn't a video about how to create backing tracks. I did a whole series about how to program backing tracks, like programming a click, getting everything set up, programming the backing tracks, how to bounce it out so that you can run it from an iPad or an iPhone or a tablet. Also how to do it so you can run it from a computer. So I have a whole playlist on that. So be sure to check that out if you're interested in how to create backing tracks. That's not what this video is about. So I would watch those videos about how to create backing tracks and how to get them onto an iPad and stuff like that, and then come back and watch this video. But before we get started, I post videos like this all the time, stuff on wireless, in-ear monitors, backing tracks, MIDI programming, finding cheap stuff for musicians on Amazon, stuff like that. If you're interested in seeing more videos like this in the future, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to ring the bell to be notified when I put out new videos. And if you find this content helpful, hitting the thumbs up button is a free way to support the channel. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so these first two tips are really obvious, but I'm surprised how many people don't think about this. So I'm going to get the two obvious ones out of the way at the beginning. So tip number one, always have a backup device. Always. Even if it's just on your iPhone or your phone or whatever that has, your music library, and you can just play your backing tracks from that. If your show relies heavily on backing tracks, you need to have some sort of backup device. So if you can get away with the show without backing tracks, if your backing tracks aren't that important to the show, you probably could get away with it if you can still perform without backing tracks. But to me, always have a backup device. I have three, actually. I have my computer, and then I have backing tracks on an iPad, and then I have backing tracks on my phone just in case if I need it. And tip number two, I'm surprised how many people don't do this. Play to a click if you're playing the backing tracks. I can't tell you the number of times that I've seen bands play with backing tracks, and they just play with the intro piano or strings or something like that, but they don't have enough sound in their wedges or something like that, so they get off of the backing tracks. I cannot tell you the number of times people have gotten off of the backing tracks because they're not playing to a click, especially if you're not using in-ears, and you have to rely on the wedge, and you don't have enough in your wedge from the sound guy and you're trying to get him to turn up. Trust me, just play to a click. Even if it's just the drummer playing to a click, that's going to be really helpful. And again, if you don't know how to set up, a backing track with a click track, watch my video on that. You can do it with one file, like an MP3 or a WAV file from an iPad. You pan all the backing tracks hard left, pan the click track hard right, and then you get a splitter cable and you can split the signal out from one MP3 or one WAV file. So again, watch my video if you don't know how to do that. Okay, so the next up, something to think about is a lot of people just play just to a click. They just have like a click sound going. But keep in mind, if you're using in-ear monitors, which if you do use backing tracks, I do recommend using in-ear monitors. But, if the whole band has in-ear monitors, or even if just the drummer has in-ear monitors, putting cues in the backing tracks is really helpful. Putting cues in the click part, again, this isn't going to go to front of house. The audience is not going to hear this, but if you have a click in your ears, you can hear cues. You can do verse 1, ready, go, stuff like that. All in, ready, go. You can have stuff like the pitch. So I'll do that sometimes for a song that starts with just vocals. If the song's in G, I'll play a G chord on my piano, and that's in our ears so the singer knows what key the song is in. We do that for Any Way You Want It. So listen to how this starts. This is our cue for it. Any Way You Want It. In on the end of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we hear the tempo. We hear me saying, this is Any Way You Want It, just so everyone knows what page we're on. It says when to come in, because Any Way You Want It comes in on the and of 4. It's not on the downbeat. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and it comes in right there. And we know what key the song is in because everybody comes in together. So that's a really helpful way to just cue yourself in for the song. It's also really helpful to know when to end a song. Stop on the end of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, stop. Because especially for cover songs, sometimes the outro goes on forever. If you've ever done Girls Just Want to Have Fun or Walking on Sunshine, where the chorus goes on forever at the end. So I'll put that in the end of a backing track. That's definitely valuable. It's especially valuable if you play with a lot of fill-in players. That definitely helps. Obviously, musicians still have to learn the song, but just remembering, is the chorus twice this time? And then the tag, how long is the bridge? How long does the solo go? Is it 4 bars or 8 bars? Stuff like that. It can be really helpful to have those cues in there. So that's been really, really helpful. Another option, so not everyone's always going to be on in-ears. So if I'm playing with a band that like the drummer just has in-ears and has the backing track going, the way I do it is I do a 4, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1.
4, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So when the drummer hears 4, 3, that gets his tempo, and then on the 4, 3, 2, 1, he either clicks his sticks or hits his hi-hat. 4, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. So that's definitely a plus if not every musician is going to have in-ear monitors. Okay, so I've mentioned a bunch about, how when I play, everybody has in-ears. Not every band's going to be able to do that, and I understand that. I have done videos on cheaper in-ear monitor systems. If you are wanting to check those out, the ones by PHENYX Pro especially, I definitely recommend those. You can always have just the drummer hear the click, which is totally fine. If you can have everyone on in-ears, it's definitely valuable. However, if you cannot, there's a couple of solutions that you can have. Is that one, you can get just like one in-ear monitor transmitter and a bunch of receivers, and everyone either gets the same mix or they just get the click and the cues and the metronome, and then you rely on wedges for the full mix. I've done that a couple of times. That is a little bit weird when you first do it, but it's definitely an option because that way everyone stays on track with the backing tracks, with the cues and everything like that. And especially like I was mentioning, if you say, chorus again, stop on 1, 3, 4, stop, it helps keep everyone in sync. Definitely valuable to have everyone hear those clicks and cues. Singers definitely seem to be the ones who have the hardest time with that, which makes sense, especially if they're trying to sing and you're saying verse 2, ready, go, that can be distracting. So maybe the singer doesn't get it, but all the musicians get it. So that might be an option as well. You don't have to have everybody in the band does not need to have their own in-ear monitor system in order to make this work. Although, again, check out my video about the PHENYX Pro system. Those are pretty cheap and definitely affordable in-ear monitor systems. Or if you go non-wireless, if you don't need wireless, you can do just like kind of like a headphone amp, which I've also reviewed. I guess I'm just plugging all my other videos in this video today. Like a headphone amp like the BEHRINGER P2 or the Donner one, those are like $30. So if you don't need to be wireless, you can also do in-ear monitors that way. Just giving you options and you can decide for yourself. Okay, next tip. If you're using backing tracks, you should think of how the show is going to run. So if you have access to backing tracks, there should basically never be downtime for the show. If you should be able to go from song to song. And if there's a moment where the guitar player needs to switch tuning or change guitars or something like that, that there's going to be, 30 seconds of time that something needs to change. Program like an interlude track or an extended intro of the track you're about to go into or something like that. And then while the guitar player is getting all set up and checking his tuning, you can have, music playing in the background or something like that while that's happening. If you know that their singer is going to talk during a certain part, you obviously don't need that. Also, if you're going to use backing tracks, you can go from one song to the next song, especially if you use those cues, so you could end one song that flows immediately into the next one. If you have access to backing tracks, keep the show moving so that the show runs smoothly. Just keep that in mind. All right, so next tip, if you're doing covers, there is a site called karaokeversions.com. You can get backing tracks for any song for $3. Instead of building out the tracks yourself, which can be a huge pain, they have it all built out for you. You can solo or mute certain instruments. If you have a live drummer, you can mute the drums and just leave the keys, backing vocals, violin, and orchestrals type of sounds and stuff like that. Super easy to use, really good interface. You can preview the songs if you want as well. This is what I actually use when I do backing tracks for covers. It's just so easy and it just saves so much time from building them out yourselves. All right, so next up, using an app to make the show run smoother, especially if you're using like a tablet or an iPhone or an iPad or something like that. If you're using a computer, you probably have it just all in Ableton, just like, ready to go. But if you're using like an iPad or a tablet or something like that, there are apps that make this easy to use. The one that I use though is called SoundQ. It's a little expensive for, what it does, but it's so simple. It's just so easy to use. You just basically, hit plus. I want to add this song here and then this song here. And you can say, do I want it to go from that song straight into the next one, or do I want there to be a break? I mean, it's so simple. And then you can see, if you need to skip a song, you can just skip to the next one with a button press. It's really easy to use. There's also another one called Multi-Tracker. That's for iPad. It's actually really cool. It's not very user-friendly, but it's pretty amazing that you can do multi-track outputs from an iPad. Obviously, you have to have an interface for that. I do plan to do a video on that one, so be sure to subscribe to see what that video when it comes out. But in general, just using an app can make your life a little bit easier. SoundCue is the one that I use. This one is a pretty unique one, and I learned this from a band that I played in. It's really cool. I actually just showed it to another drummer, and he was like, dude, I can't go any other way after finding this out. But the most important person who needs to hear the click is the drummer. They definitely do. So most of the time when you do this, you have an in-ear monitor rack that you have, and everybody gets to mix their own mix with their phones or with a tablet. If you don't know how to do this, I did a whole video about how to run your own in-ears. Check out that video. It's definitely very helpful to know how to do this. But using an app, you're connected to like a Wi-Fi thing. So sometimes, the app can kind of give you trouble. So this is a solution that, remember, the drummer always has to hear click. That's the most important part. It just gives the drummer a one knob turn if they need to hear the click. If for some reason they get off track, an earbud pops out or something gets really loud and they lose the click and they just need a super fast way to turn up the click, this is very, very helpful, because if the drummer gets off the click, you basically have to turn off the backing tracks. All right, so this is how we do this. First of all, this is the little mixer that we have for the drummer. You can use basically any mixer. Anything that has at least 2 inputs for it is what I would recommend. I'm going to show you that in a second. This is a 2-input direct box. You can get 2 separate ones if you would like, but this is just a really nice one. I'll have it linked down below. So it has 2 inputs, but the most important thing is that this 1/4 inch, it has a through, which most of them do. So this is our splitter cable. This one goes into the iPad, and then this one splits off. This one has all of our click and cues, and this one has all the backing tracks. It's labeled on here, but you're going to plug into the inputs of those. So now the click is going in here, and the tracks are going in here. So this one goes to our in-ear monitors for mixing for the rest of the band, so we still get a click track, and then the left goes to also the in-ear monitors so that we can hear the tracks, which then goes to the front of house. Again, watch my videos on that if you don't know how to do that. You should know how to basically do a split like this. But the thing about this through right here, what you can do is on this mixer is, first of all, this one's a great one. I'll link this one down below. This is just a Behringer one. It's nice and small and compact. So when I'm sending the drummer an in-ear monitor mix out of our rack, this will be his in-ear monitor mix, and he can adjust that right here if he needs to turn that up. Instead of having to open up the app and change your click that way, which again could go down for Wi-Fi or whatever, and he needs a quick way to do that, you use this through right here and send him a direct signal of the click. Remember, this one is the one that has the click. So now I'm going to go out of that through. So there's the input. So it'll go in here, and then it'll send a through. It'll send just a direct signal here, but I'm going to send that right here to this click in. So that's why I have it labeled right here. So if he ever needs more click, just turn this up and you're ready to go. That is it for getting click. Now our drummer actually likes to hear the tracks as well. So we do the same thing here. So remember, this one right here is getting the tracks, the backing tracks. So the same idea, go out of the through into this input right here. But you can see this one's labeled as tracks. So if he wants more tracks, he turns this up. Headphones plug in right here, and he can turn up everything or his headphones individually right here. With this setup, he now has control over his full mix, his master mix, which he's getting from in-ear monitor mix. The click, if he needs any more click, turn up or down just this knob. That's it. You have more click. And if you need more tracks, you can turn it up right here. Really helpful. One knob. Drummer now has enough click in his ears in case if he loses it. Very, very helpful. That's how we do it. All right, another tip, almost done. If you're playing to backing tracks, keep in mind that means that your song is going to be 4 minutes long. You need to turn on your distortion pedal in the chorus. You need to turn on your boost in the solo. You need to turn on your reverb in the verses and stuff like that. It's basically going to be the same every time. So what you can do if you're playing to backing tracks, you're on the rails, you can't really extend a song or anything like that. You can use MIDI to send info to your gear. So keyboardist or vocal effects or guitars, like I play with the HX Stomp or the Helix. So when I played a backing tracks, I would send info over MIDI to my pedals and it would change. So, when I needed distortion in the chorus, it would turn that on. When I had a weird phaser effect to transition out of the bridge into the last chorus, it would send a MIDI message to my Helix to turn on my phaser effect and then turn it off when it went to the chorus. So that's very helpful. I didn't even need to have any pedals in front of me anymore. It was just a clean stage, and I was able to just focus on the performance instead of focus on pedal dancing. That is super helpful if you're already playing to backing tracks. So if you use a computer, Logic or Ableton or whatever, it can send MIDI messages out to your gear. I did a video just explaining MIDI. If you have no idea what MIDI is, it definitely is going to help you there. But I also did a video explaining on how I do that with the Helix, which can be applied to basically any type of gear. If you're playing a backing track, you always need to turn on the distortion to get to the chorus, right? So you might as well just have a computer do that for you. And then you can just focus on the performance instead of focusing on pedal dancing. All right, this last one's going to be the most controversial for sure. This is just my opinion. Again, it's up to you if you decide to use this or not. Have options of having other instruments in the backing tracks. One group that I play in with me and my wife, so sometimes we do acoustic. Both of us just play acoustic guitars and sing, but other times we have like the full band setup. We have 3 different versions of the backing tracks. We have one that has no bass and no drums in the backing tracks, and we perform as a 4-piece. We have another one that has bass in the backing tracks but no drums. We can play as a 3-piece. And then we have one that has drums and bass in the backing tracks but no like lead guitar or anything like that, and we can perform as a 2-piece and still have that full sound. This can be valuable if you want to play in different arrangements. If you're booking a show and they only have a tiny stage space, so they only have room for like 2 people, or a musician isn't able to make the gig. I know, especially if you gig a lot, musicians get sick, or flaky, is another option. Another thing that happens very much in the music industry, having a backup version that has the backup instruments in them. So if you're worried that your bass player is not going to show up and you still want to do the show without them or something like that, you can always put it in the backing tracks. Again, this is controversial. I know some people are going to be upset with that suggestion. I'm just making it a suggestion. It's really up to you on if you want to do that. I always prefer to perform as a 4-piece with the live bass and live drums, but I have that option. And again, it's really up to you on how much of that backing track stuff you want to put in there. I've seen bands or like solo acts perform, that has everything in the backing tracks except for the lead vocals and the lead guitar, and people enjoyed it. If you've been on a cruise, like a cruise ship or something like that, there's a ton of backing tracks and people are there just to be entertained. And I saw a band that had just a drummer and a singer, and everything else was on tracks, including like lead guitar solos and stuff like that. And people there were just there to enjoy a show and listen to music. They were not, upset about that. It's really up to you and your setup. A more electronic music is very heavy on backing tracks. If you're doing like classic rock stuff, it's a little more frowned upon to have a lot of backing tracks. It's really up to you to find that balance for your band based on your genre and your preferences. So this is a decision for you and your bandmates. So those are my 10 tips. So I hope this helped you guys out. If you guys made it to the end of the video, please just do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. I hate asking for it. YouTubers hate asking for it, but it's a free way to support the channel. It really does help out, feed the YouTube algorithm gods, and recommend the video to more people. So I'd appreciate it. If you did find this helpful, if you got an aha, oh wow, that's really cool, please leave a comment down below. Let me know which one helped you out the most. I'm definitely curious as to what these videos have done and what it has helped other musicians out. I'm definitely curious on what you have found helpful with this video. So please leave a comment down below if one of them or multiple ones have helped you out. Don't forget to check out all those videos that I recommended. I'll post them at the end card, but I'll also post links down in the description of where you can watch those videos. And I do have some, some gear that I recommended. If I mention any gear in this video, I'll have links to that down below as well. They are Amazon affiliate links, so that's another free way to support the channel. It doesn't cost you anything to use those links, but it's a free way to support this channel so I can do more videos like this. Hope this helped you guys out. Don't forget to check out some of those videos by clicking the links on your screen now. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to follow me on my social media pages. I'm at Scott Yule Music on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. So don't forget to follow me there, especially on Instagram. This is one I'm most active on. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you guys again for watching, and I'll see you next time.